Okay, hi everyone. Thank you all so much for being here to learn about these five incredibly brave and dedicated veterans who put their lives on the line for our country, and to celebrate these 23 students who are so motivated, curious, and hardworking that they volunteered to do all this extra work during one of the busiest times of the year. As someone who is not a fan of public speaking, I give you all immense credit for getting up here. As Harry Truman said, America was not built on fear. America was built on courage, on imagination, and on an unbeatable determination to do the job at hand. Both these veterans and these students have gone above and beyond what was expected of them, and they've done a fantastic job. Again, I truly appreciate your presence here, and I hope you enjoy these presentations as much as I have enjoyed seeing the connections made between these different generations, all through the sharing of life stories. At this time, I invite you to stand for our national anthem, which will be performed for us by Medway High School students Izzy Chabloski, Aiden Christie, and Caitlin D'Souza. After the anthem, I ask you to please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by one of our veterans, Mr. Al Tonelli. Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 1. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Yes, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Izzy, Aiden, and Caitlin, and thank you, Mr. Tonelli. Let's get the presentation started. I'd like to invite Mr. Tonelli to have a seat up front here while his story is presented by Bridget Tonelli, Bruna Salgado, Emma Copeland, and Izzy Chabloski.
Alan Tonelli, Al, or as I call him Dad, was born in Southborough, Massachusetts on August 31st, 1965. He grew up with his mother and 8 siblings, and he went to Southborough Elementary, middle school, and then Assabet Valley Tech for high school, where he studied culinary arts and he played football, where his team won the state championship, which he talks about every chance that he gets. He spent many years working in kitchens, although I think his skills have gotten a little bit rusty over the years. I can't complain. After graduation, he worked framing houses for some time before he decided to enlist.
Mr. Tonelli was in the Massachusetts Army National Guard, where he served as an E5 sergeant. He enlisted in the military at 20 years old, feeling it was his duty to serve and protect his country. He arrived at the armory, where he got his first look at what he was getting himself into, as the sergeants loaded the bus to go to the MEP station in Boston. There, he filled out paperwork, took an oath, marking a very honorable moment for him, then off to basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky. He completed his basic training along with his AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training. Once he arrived there, that's when reality truly set in.
Saying boot camp was exhausting and painful is an understatement. Mr. Tonelli went through extreme mental and physical challenges during the grueling 10-week experience. For example, days would consist of a 4 a.m. wake-up, which was very unpleasant. Mr. Tonelli described it as drizzly, wet, cold, and dark. Then they would make their bunks. Mind you, everything was done in a fast and efficient manner. Then they would train, run 2 miles, train more, and repeat. Sleep deprivation was common among everybody. The drill sergeants were extremely cold and hardcore, but with good reason. This was the intent of boot camp horrors, to break them down and build them up to become true soldiers. The first 6 weeks of training were focused on the absolute basics at a place called Reception. There, he learned how to march, specific formations and movements, also called the red phase. The soldiers were bound to very specific schedules. Everything was to be done effectively and efficiently. For example, their beds were to be made with tight sheets, structured and formal. Their drill sergeant would drop a coin on the sheets to see if they were tight enough. If the coin did not bounce high enough, he would rip it apart and make them restart. This was a physically and mentally demanding period in his life. He said prayers got him through it. He made many friends during boot camp, but over time, numbers became obsolete. And because of distance and changes in life, communication eventually came to an end. One thing he mentioned that ran through his mind constantly was, "Sweet Jesus, am I going to make it through this?"
Mr. Tonelli was trained to operate tanks, specifically the M60A3 at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and the M1A1 at Fort Shelby, Mississippi. There are 4 roles to tanking: driving, loading, the gunner, and the captain of the tank. He said his favorite role in tanking was driving. Mr. Tonelli talked about how he went into the military knowing that becoming a tanker was his end goal. He explained that he loved the raw power of the machines and still laughs about driving the machines through the woods and crushing trees during training exercises. Mr. Tonelli spoke of his proudest and most horrific moments in service. On the proud side was when, during a training drill, moving targets 800 meters down range, where Mr. Tonelli was positioned in the main loading gun, one after another, watching was a 1-star general who recognized his speed, awarding him a Medal of Achievement. Mr. Tonelli also maxed out his gait test, a key evaluation that measures a soldier's readiness, an achievement that meant a lot to him. However, not every moment was smooth. One time, Mr. Tonelli leaned over to adjust his chair. The main gun moved and nearly crushed his arm. On another occasion, while driving a tank, it sunk in the mud, on a mud hill, with him still inside. Water began to sweep into the machine, and for 3.5 long hours, he remained trapped before managing to escape. He made many friends on his unit that he still keeps in touch with to this day, like Mike Stack, Anthony, and Paul Salona.
Although Mr. Tonelli was trained and ready to fight, he was never deployed. The closest he got to deployment was the Gulf War, which began in 1990. The war was intense but relatively short, focusing heavily on airstrikes and high-tech weaponry. For those in the military at the time, including many in the National Guard, it was a period of uncertainty and high alert, even for those who were never called to the front lines. Although he was never deployed, he was prepared to fight for his country. One of the proudest moments of Mr. Tonelli's life was graduation. After the barracks were cleaned and bags were packed, the drill sergeants made sure to let them know, "You're not out of here yet," but he walked across the stage and achieved graduation.
Coming back from the service was a hard adjustment at first, switching back into a world that didn't follow the same structure, schedule, and immense organization that he had been in. However, he managed to re-enter the trades for carpentry with local 33 South Boston and spent the rest of his career as a carpenter and finish carpenter. He met his wife, Catherine, in 1999 and went on to have 3 spectacular, amazing, talented daughters. He was a part of a veterans organization in Hudson, Mass., where his unit was from. He also joined in Millis, where he was living, then Medway VFW when moving here in 2006. He did lots of volunteer work, including the Vietnam War Memorial in 2013. The military overall had a great impact on his life, bringing him a greater sense of attention to detail and, most of all, structure and honor. Something my dad loves to say all of the time, something a drill sergeant told him once, was, if you keep your stuff squared away, nobody can mess with you. The language has been slightly changed for this event, but more importantly, this is a principle I take every single day and is one of the many things my dad has taught me over the years. And I am so grateful to have a dad awesome like mine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Now we'd like to invite Mr. Dave DeChico up here, and his story will be presented by Abby Walker, Alexandra Chablosky, Ellie McNeil, and Giada Antonuccio.
Mr. David DeChico was born on February 2nd, 1975, in Needham, Massachusetts, to Corinne and William DeChico, a U.S. Navy Seabee. Growing up in Needham, he attended Minuteman Vocational High School, focusing on electrical studies. He was a quiet young man who was always active. He preferred BMX biking to sports. Mr. DeChico always envisioned a career in the trades, recognizing that college wasn't his path. This, combined with the inspiration of his father's service, he made the courageous decision to enlist in the Navy as a Seabee on February 1st, 1993, the day before his 18th birthday. The Seabees are a specialized unit formed during World War II on March 5th, 1942. They are responsible for constructing infrastructure such as tents, small camps, and essential utility systems, weapons training, and in addition to supporting disaster relief and civic action projects. This very important job suited him extremely well. Combined with his passion for trade and his desire to serve in the Navy, he followed in his father's footsteps. Despite his mother's concerns, he was resolute in his choice. A symbolic change before his departure was the cutting of his long hair, a style he never returned to. Reflecting on his life, he regrets very few decisions, and his decision to join the Navy and pursue his chosen career remains a central and positive one.
While Mr. DeChico's later work focused on welding and infrastructure, his journey began in the demanding environment of boot camp in California. Despite the backdrop of palm trees and yellow buildings, the experience was far from leisurely, marked by constant yelling, marching, relentless push-ups, and abrupt awakenings. Even tornado drills held strict consequences, with improperly made beds leading to belongings being tossed out of windows. His company commanders, one of whom was a triathlete, employed creative physical exercises as discipline, which now serve as humorous anecdotes which he could not share. Following the intensity of boot camp, Mr. DeChico attended a school to acquire the skills of welding and sheet metal fabrication. He began his work at the Weymouth Naval Air Station, refueling 3-130 and C-5 planes, where he worked alongside his father for 2 years. His assignment varied, including work at Army bases across Massachusetts, such as Hanscom Air Force Base in Lexington and Westover Air Force Base in Chicopee. He served in diverse locations from Puerto Rico to Hawaii, Cape Verde to Kuwait, each offering unique experiences. Each location came with its own set of routines and different assignments. Mr. DeChico describes his favorite location as Hawaii due to its beautiful landscape.
Mr. DeChico served during Operation Desert Storm and was deployed in 2007 during Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom. During his year-long deployment to Kuwait, his daughter was only 13 months old. He recalls arriving in the middle of the night, curtains covering bus windows, and sand everywhere, with nights sometimes stretching into 32 sleepless hours. Entertainment came in the form of guitar sessions on the smoke deck, or a round of glow stick golf. Local people were hired for simple jobs like running the barbershop. Being a Seabee meant being tasked with creating things from what was available, like making offices out of storage boxes, or building a stand for a CB statue. He noted that his job didn't come with much pressure or stress. For his service, Mr. DeChico received a number of awards: the Armed Forces Reserve Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Expert Rifleman Medal, Expert Pistol Shot Medal, Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, Overseas Service Ribbon, Naval Reserve Meritorious Service Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and the Global War on Terrorism Expedition Medal. In addition to these, Mr. DeChico also received an award from the Wayland Fire Department for his brave service in an off-duty car accident assistance. This award was then recognized by the Navy, where he received the Navy Commendation Medal.
Through Facebook, Mr. DeChico maintained connections with boot camp friends. Even during deployment, he wrote letters and connected with home via weekly webcam calls. While most of his service was in the reserves, involving monthly weekend duties and 2-week annual trainings, he amassed a wealth of memories. These included decorating tanks with Christmas lights, friends dressing up as Santa Claus, and finding humor in less than appetizing MREs like chili mac and the surprisingly good jalapeno cheese. Additionally, he attended USO shows which included stars like Kid Rock, Robin Williams, and Lance Armstrong. He continues to connect with many service members through the annual Memorial Day Parade. He also remains close to Frank Ward, a fellow battalion member who is also being honored tonight. Mr. DeChico met Mr. Ward in the mid-90s. They went their separate ways but met again when his son mentioned that his friend's dad was in the Navy. Soon, Mr. DeChico discovered that it was Frank Ward, and they've remained close friends since. Leave wasn't always an option, but the bonds formed and moments shared with fellow Seabees more than made up for it. Mr. DeChico married his now wife Lauren in August of 2004 and had his daughter Ella in 2006. After returning home in May of 2008, he continued with the reserves, meaning he was gone for 1 weekend a month and 2 to 3 week periods a year for training. In 2009, he and his wife had their son Eddie. Later, in February of 2014, after 21 years in the military, Mr. DeChico retired, but continued with his work at the Natick Fire Department. He began his DeChico Overhead Doors business in 2016 and has been very successful ever since. Currently, he lives in Medway with his wife Lauren and 2 children. Mr. DeChico, thank you for your brave and skilled service to our country. Additionally, thank you for showing us that the military service holds a mosaic of experiences, not just what we learn in history classes. We are grateful for your willingness to share with us your moving and motivating story. Thank you.
Just waiting, there's just a few more pictures of Dave here. He gave us quite a few. Thank you. Okay, presenting Mr. Frank Ward's story, we have Davis Campbell, William Nassif, Jasmine Foley, Varsha Propagar, Maddie Marks, and Chris Marks.
Frank Ward was born on November 22, 1961, in Boston, Massachusetts, into a family of veterans. 9 members of his family had served in the military, including his father, who was a part of the invasion of Saipan during World War II. Those members from both sides of his family who served came home safely, inspiring Mr. Ward with their stories of patriotism and bravery. Mr. Ward enlisted in the military in 1996, right after college. Despite never having a strong desire to join the military, he enlisted following the advice he was given by a friend. Shortly after joining, Mr. Ward decided that he wanted to stay in the military for longer. He served as a part of the United States Navy's Naval Construction Force for 23 years, particularly in the Afghan War. As a CB for the Naval Construction Force of the U.S. Marines, Mr. Ward was tasked with constructing bridges, buildings, and other structures for the Navy.
Mr. Ward has been deployed twice during his service, both times taking place in the Pacific. His first deployment was to the island of Guam. A highlighted moment in Frank's deployment was visiting places that his father had served in during World War II. While on deployment, Mr. Ward's daily life looked very different from ours. The physical load that needed to be carried at all times was immense, reaching at times 40 pounds or more. This included a vest, helmet, and other essentials that were required even during strenuous activity. During one of our interviews, he allowed us to try on his gear. We were shocked at just how heavy each piece of equipment was, let alone all the attachments they came with. We were out of breath just looking at it. Shortly after, he introduced us to another staple from his time in the military, MREs, or meals ready to eat. The prepackaged food was compact and easy to transport, essential for being on the move. The MRE that he brought in consisted of meatballs, breadsticks, and the most important delicacy, a chocolate chip cookie. As Mr. Ward moved up the ladder, eventually reaching the rank of Petty Officer E6, the number under his command grew to upwards of 40 people. It was here where his early training came into great effect. He could immediately connect and grow close with all those who were under his responsibility, mimicking and inspiring others just as he was inspired earlier in his career.
As he reflected on those who impacted him, as well as those he impacted, it was clear that nothing in the world drove people together more than shared hardships. He learned that there was more to his service than being a good soldier. He was taught to be an effective teammate and leader. Mr. Ward learned to be actively involved in each member of his team's life. Building and maintaining good relationships paid off, even if it was difficult at times. Some of those Mr. Ward initially distrusted went on to become some of his best friends through this process. A perfect example is Tommy Nigro, who slept in the bunk next to Mr. Ward with a knife strapped to his chest because they didn't know each other. However, by the end of both of their services, he is now considered one of Mr. Ward's best friends and the best gunner he ever had.
These lifelong friendships filled his days with some needed excitement during what could sometimes be an arduous military life. This was characterized by the many pranks all of the soldiers pulled on each other. Mr. Ward himself was once a victim of one of these escapades, as one of his friends filled his tangerine with Tabasco sauce through a hypodermic needle. In retaliation, Mr. Ward replaced one of his canteens with pure Tabasco, which started a long relationship that included a string of retaliatory pranks, including the classic snake and the sleeping bag prank. These stunts were partly to stave off boredom, but they also deepened their relationship with each other.
Mr. Ward noted that his military service affected him positively. In fact, the day his service ended, he felt rather depressed that he was parting ways with the guys that he had become so close with. He sees his fellow soldiers as his brothers and sisters, remarking how he knows so much about them due to the extensive amount of time they spent together. Thankfully, he still keeps in touch with around 20 of the 48 men who had been in his platoon. Mr. Ward shared that being around someone 24/7 will create a lifelong bond. He knows some of these men better than their own wives know them. Upon the conclusion of his service, Mr. Ward took about a week off and then went right back to work at his previous job, Mass Water, where he had worked for the past 30 years. Currently, he resides in Medway with his wife and 2 children. He is on the local VFW e-board and participates in monthly meetings to discuss ways to give back to the community, whether it be donating to town services or providing scholarship opportunities for students.
Some of Mr. Ward's old habits from service naturally still linger. It's small things from waking up earlier to staying active by walking up to 4 miles a day. As he reflects on his service, Mr. Ward states that he would do it all over again. He trained many people for combat, and his experiences in the Navy have had a strong influence on his views. His military life in the Navy has always kept him on the right path. He described how the environment makes you want to continue forward, to excel, and how the people you are surrounded with would make you want to be better together. Being trustworthy, open-hearted, and caring for others are qualities that were emphasized in the Navy and are qualities that he embodies. Overall, Mr. Ward's experiences in the Navy were like no other and have influenced who he is as an individual. Mr. Ward, we thoroughly enjoyed learning about your experiences in the Navy. You have shown us the valuable impact that joining the military can have on your life and those around you. Thank you for your service and for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We would like to invite Dr. Price to come forward, please. Dr. Price's story will be shared by Amelia McAvoy, Evelyn Francis, and Allison Bugby.
On June 13, 1943, Dr. Bernard Price was born in Portland, Maine. Although, of course, he wasn't a doctor at that time, he was an extremely motivated individual from a young age. By the time of his high school graduation, he already had a plan set in mind for his future. He would attend the University of Vermont on a scholarship to eventually become a medical doctor. However, everything changed when his scholarship program was unexpectedly unable to fund his continued education. Following this sudden change, Dr. Price's dedicated wife, Alexis, agreed to take up countless hours of work on top of her own attendance to nursing school to fund their schooling. This pattern of teamwork is a common motif throughout Dr. Price's story, and through lots of hard work and dedication, Dr. Price's Team Price, which consisted of him and his wife, was able to push through all of the challenges that came their way. In the year 1970, Dr. Price enlisted in the military to allow him to further his medical education without the help of his scholarship to get him through school. While his pregnant wife stayed with her mother, he was sent to doctor basic training in Fort Sam Houston, located in San Antonio, Texas. While there, he received significant experience in the medical field, as well as learning practical Army skills. A typical day for him could include a lecture on military medicine, a lesson on how to salute, walk, march, or training on the rifle range, something essential to being a doctor, of course. Soon after finishing his basic training, Dr. Price got his first assignment. He would be working at the 21st Replacement Battalion in Frankfurt, Germany. As can be imagined, life there for the Prices was extremely different than what they had been used to. The first major difference, as Dr. Price noted, was that they were now living on the economy, or operating inside the foreign system rather than the military bubble. Because of this, Mrs. Price put it upon herself to attempt the daunting task of learning German, and impressively became proficient enough to buy food in the grocery store. Even so, German workers usually recognized her as American, and despite her best efforts, resorted to English conversation. Of course, working back at the German hospital wasn't easy either. As the youngest doctor working there, Dr. Price bounced around between departments, rotating between clinics during his 9-hour shifts. The people he saw had not only been injured physically, but also emotionally and mentally because of the toll the Vietnam War took on its soldiers. Dr. Price referred to these injuries as soul wounds. Soldiers coming back from the Vietnam War placed their trust in him about the true realities of what they had faced during their time in combat and the impact it had on them. In turn, he spent much of his day in the hospital, even dedicating additional time past his scheduled shifts to help patients. By this point, there wasn't much free time to be had at all because the Prices were experiencing an exciting event. Their daughter, Rebecca, had been born. In the midst of this chaotic time of adapting to a new life, Dr. and Mrs. Price were indebted to their neighbors with whom they had formed a child's care agreement to take some of the load off balancing life as German residents and new parents. In the free time that this agreement allowed them, they traveled on their days off from work, going from France to what was then the Soviet Union, as well as almost everywhere in between.
Simultaneously occurring with Dr. Price's busy work and family lives, he became determined to dig deeper into the story of his father's military experience, of which he knew very little except for the fact that he had been a prisoner of war under German occupation sometime during World War II. For obvious reasons, his father's traumatic time in the war was seldom discussed in Dr. Price's childhood home. It was not until adulthood that he and his younger brother felt it was appropriate to fully follow through in their intrigue about their father's story, a story which we would like to share with you today. After years of research, they found that their father, Mr. Peter Price, enlisted in the United States Air Force in early 1943, and by January 1944 was stationed in Foggia, a city in southern Italy. Because of his experience as a printer prior to the war, he was assigned to be the flight engineer of a B-17 four-engine bomber airplane with 9 other men. These 10 men, together in an aircraft called Special Delivery, which received its name because the pilot's wife was pregnant, developed close bonds with each other as they remained together for nearly all of their missions. Together, Mr. Price and his team flew not just in Europe, but all over the world. In 1944, the Special Delivery first took off in Kansas and traveled to Florida, Venezuela, Africa, and Venice before landing in Foggia as a jumping-off point for Price and his team's future undertakings. In the early months of 1944, Mr. Price was assigned to fly throughout Italy, Germany, Yugoslavia, Austria, and Romania. Romania proved to be an especially dangerous assignment. On one occasion, the Special Delivery was flying to an extremely dangerous German oil field in Romania when they had to be saved by a unit of Tuskegee Airmen, a group of all-black American Air Force volunteers, as their plane could not make it back to Italy after missing a message to retreat from the oil field. Throughout this time, Mr. Price and his wife kept in contact by writing letters, in which he always included a code to disclose to her how many missions he had left before he could return home. The policy during World War II was that a member of the Air Force must fly 35 missions before they could take leave, which he was nearing in August 1934. Heartbreakingly, Mr. Price's 34th mission was when disaster struck for him and his team. Mr. Price was injured on his 34th mission and separated from the rest of the Special Delivery crew for his 35th. On August 15, 1944, Mr. Price engaged in his 35th mission with a temporary crew in Operation Dragoon, the second invasion of France. They were attacking German holdings in France from the Mediterranean, and in the midst of bombing bridges and artillery pieces, the plane blew up and crashed in France. 8 of Mr. Price's teammates died on impact, and only he and the tail gunner survived. Both he and the tail gunner were captured by the Germans and taken to Frankfurt. Dr. Price's mother found out that Mr. Price was missing and later had become a prisoner of war through a series of telegrams. Mr. Price was brought to a camp in current-day Poland called Stalag Luft 4, which consisted primarily of American and British Air Force members, where he was held from September 1944 to February 1945. In February, the Germans began evacuating their prisoner of war camps in hopes of escaping the Soviet advancement into the Eastern Front. Mr. Price marched in a group of about 300 men, 15 to 20 miles for 86 days. This German evacuation has many nicknames: the Long Trek, the Death March, but these are hardly necessary to imagine the horrible conditions of this experience, as the prisoners of war were ill-prepared for the negative 13-degree Fahrenheit temperatures they would be forced to endure, which often caused conditions such as trench foot and typhus. Fortunately, Mr. Price's group came into contact with American troops who were able to release them from German control. Mr. Price was honorably discharged later in 1945. Most amazingly, his son, Dr. Price, revealed to us that the hospital where he was stationed was only miles away from where his father had been held prisoner of war decades earlier.
While the military story of Mr. Price has ended, we still need to finish that of Dr. Price. After the end of the Vietnam War, he continued his schooling and went into residency for 2 years in Bangor, Maine. His military experience proved at least partially worth it for the fact that it allowed him to shorten his residency by 1 year, which would have typically been 3 years. He then moved to Norway, Maine, and started to practice family medicine there for 4 years. He eventually moved to Western Massachusetts and worked at UMass Memorial Medical Center for 2 years. Until his retirement, he worked at Bay State Medical Center in an outpatient clinic. He has 3 kids with his wife Alexis, Rebecca, Matthew, and Mark, and 5 grandchildren. During the pandemic, he moved to Millis in order to be closer to his family and help take care of his grandchildren. Dr. Price loved practicing medicine, and his advice is to love what you do, although it may be a battle to balance. He has nothing but respect for career military members. Thank you, Dr. Price, for your time, stories, and the opportunity to learn not just about your life, but also about your father's legacy. Our work with you helped us better understand the variety of experiences in the military. Thank you again for your time, service, and inspiration.
Thank you all. And last but not least, of course, we'd like to invite Mr. Richard Tufts to come forward. Mr. Tufts' story will be shared by Kyla Booth, Lauren Carlson, Victoria Ribot, Orla Mulcahy, Julia Holden, and Bella Webb.
Mr. Richard Tufts was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on May 29, 1939, and spent his childhood in Baltimore, Maryland. He enjoyed playing basketball and singing in a barbershop quartet. In his early life, he also discovered rock and roll music. At 22, unsure of his path after graduating high school in 1957 and working at a brickyard, he enlisted in the U.S. Air Force in 1961 on the advice of his parents. Though initially reluctant, as many of his peers were attending college, Mr. Tufts found a calling in service, following in his father's footsteps. Whenever we started our interviews, Mr. Tufts always said, "Sock it to me," so we're going to take his lead and sock it to you.
His Air Force journey began with basic training at Laughlin Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas, where he learned Air Force fundamentals, marching drills, and international Morse code. Mr. Tufts was excited by the prospect of traveling beyond Maryland. After training at the Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi, and meandering through New Orleans, he was stationed at Misawa Air Base in Japan in 1962. When he discussed his service there, he recalled the heavy snowfall in Misawa that reached 156 inches, the intense cold, and traveling to nearby Hirosaki.
In 1963, Mr. Tufts served in Peshawar in what was then West Pakistan. He vividly remembers the intense heat that radiated through the thick soles of his Air Force boots upon arrival, and noted having the opportunity to observe the people of Kabul, Afghanistan. His travels included a journey through the Khyber Pass with the Army, a historically significant trade and military route connecting South Asia with India. The passage is known for its dramatic scenery and natural beauty, with winding through shades of gray Khyber limestone, which offers an alluring and striking view of the landscape. During this passage, he and his fellow soldiers encountered a bus filled with Russians, a surprising event given the Cold War context and their mission to gather intelligence on Soviet activities.
Because of some support he received from the GI Bill, Mr. Tufts attended the University of Maryland, where he majored in political history of Southeast and Southeast Asia. He also briefly mentioned being employed by the National Security Agency and representing the NSA in Bad Aibling, Germany. Throughout his service, Mr. Tufts maintained contact with his family by sending letters home to his parents. While on a 30-day leave from Japan, Mr. Tufts met his future wife, Kate. Mutual friends had set the two up on a blind date on Friday the 13th. They married in 1966 and are celebrating 59 years of marriage this year. Mr. Tufts proudly notes Kate's success as an accomplished watercolorist.
Mr. Tufts cultivated a passion for classic cars, and after his service, worked for the television show Motor Week for 10 years. He reviewed and advertised automobiles. At 32, Mr. Tufts became a father to his daughter, Jill, who graduated from Boston University in 1992. She graduated with a degree in film and is now a camera technician in the film industry. She and her husband have two daughters, Aoife and Sadie. He is very proud of them both. He's also equally proud of the Tufts name and his heritage. Mr. Tufts and his wife currently reside in Millis, Massachusetts.
Reflecting on his time in service, Mr. Tufts emphasized the importance of peace and kindness, a perspective he reinforced with the song "Keep on the Sunny Side of Life" by the Carter Family. Mr. Tufts is deeply proud of his service and its impact, sharing that he would repeat much of it. He often reflected on the advice, "Think about what you're going to say or do before you say or do it." He also stressed the importance of older generations listening to the younger ones. He shared with us a few important quotes, including his wife's advice to follow your dreams. A Willie Nelson quote, "Once you replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts, you will start having positive results." And Simone Biles' belief, "If you're having fun, this is when the best memories are made." These words emphasize the importance of self-respect as well as respecting others. We found meeting Mr. Tufts to be a memorable and impactful experience. Thank you, Mr. Tufts, for your service and for spending time with us and sharing your story.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aubrey Roje, and I told you not to touch the mic, and then I touched the mic. My name is Aubrey Roje, and I am from Medway High School, and I usually don't speak at this event, but I felt that this year was exceptionally special, so there are a few important acknowledgments that I just wanted to make. The first is to Marsha Lombardo, who is the founder of this program. This was her brainchild, and together we helped raise it. So I do have to come on up. Marsha, you drove all the way up to come here tonight, so you have to get a little something. Okay, and next I have to, of course, thank Sue O'Connor, who stepped up to the role this year as Marsha had gone on to greener pastures down in the Cape. Sue actually worked at Medway Daycare, where both of my children at the ages of, from newborn to 4 were raised, and she helped raise my 2 daughters. So I think it's very profound that she is here to help raise what I call my 3rd child here today. So Sue, your unwavering dedication and willingness to navigate the many twists and turns of these past few months have really helped make this program a reality for our kids, and your grace and determination through it all has been amazing and absolutely did not go unnoticed. So thank you, Sue. And to our veterans, thank you so much. It has been a privilege to watch our students engage with you all and learn your histories, but what truly stands out to me, and I think many of us here, are the invaluable life lessons and wisdom you've generously shared with our kids. And you are truly among our community's greatest assets. Thank you for your service to our nation and for your service to our students. The Medway Council on Aging has a little something for our veterans. Did you want to? And then comes you guys. So this year marks our largest student group we have ever had in the 8 years of this project. And these young people are here today driven solely by their passion for learning. This project is entirely voluntary. They aren't here as part of a performance. They are not earning a grade to be here. They have received nothing except experience for their extensive work. For some of them, being in front of you here tonight is one of the hardest things that they have ever done. Over the last 2 months, they've poured countless hours into this project during what is arguably the most demanding period of their academic year. juggling demanding courses, AP tests, MCAS, prom, playoffs, final exams, final band and choral performances, competitions, jobs, youth group commitments, and many, many more things. They are so grateful to everything that they learned from you all, and they have gone on and on about how special their time with you was. Somehow, they have found the time for all of the writing and the read-throughs and everything to really make tonight happen. I am so immensely proud of you, and the Council on Aging has a little gift for you as well. Bridget? Oh, no. Yes. Bridget? Luna? Izzy? Orla? Kyra? Julia?
Thank you.
Okay, so one last piece from me. Finally, I must note that it is quite uncommon for students to participate in this project more than once or twice due to its demands. And it's particularly rare for seniors to take it on during that very high-stress year. However, we have one remarkable student among us here tonight who has participated every single year of her high school career, Maddie Marks. I've had the distinct honor of teaching Maddie twice. I don't know why she took me twice. And I know I speak for all of her teachers when I say that she is truly extraordinary. Beyond her commitments to programs like this, she maintains a rigorous course load and is an exceptionally successful competitive dancer. Next year, she will embark her studies in exercise science at Endicott College. Maddie, thank you for not only being a consistent force in this program, but being instrumental to its success. You will be missed, and we wish you the best of luck next year. Maddie.
Okay, again, thank you, veterans and students, so much for your time and efforts. I'll try to keep it brief, but I want to share another quote with you. This one from John Quincy Adams. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Aubrey Roger, you are a true leader in every sense of the word. I've known you in various capacities over the years, as you mentioned. What she didn't mention was she also had my children as students at the high school. So reconnecting during this event was pretty amazing. In everything you do, you go above and beyond in your care and dedication. Thank you for the immense amount of time and care you put into this project for 8 years. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. I also wanted to send out a special thank you to Marsha Lombardo for traveling here from the Cape to join us tonight. She created this project and entrusted it to me when she retired. Marsha, thank you so much for being here. Also, I was remiss on the program in not also thanking our new director, Kathy Carvalho. Congratulations, Kathy, on your new role as director. our Assistant Director, amazing Judy Naterno, for all of their hard work and support with this. Also, our hardworking DPW, Parks and Rec, and IT crews were also a crucial part of the setup, so a big thank you to them as well. In conclusion, we'd love for you to stay and join us for some refreshments. Thank you all so much.